nothing will go unchecked pretty much. And it looks like we're off.
Marissa versus was basically transparent Link. Shield.
And we're off. Our wireframe runner here finds a shield in the first chest. Not the best thing you want to find, but hey, whatever.
I'm actually trying to remember. In vanilla, is that the lamp or actually the shield? Because I'm forgetting now.
No, that is the lamp in vanilla, so...
Okay, that's what I thought. I have a feeling I was remembering it wrong.
Oh, no problem. So thankfully enough, being standard mode, our runners won't need to find the lamp to make sure they have their light cone at least through the escape sequence. That'll be pretty much guaranteed. Now, I wonder what this is going to be. It's a sword! Who'da thunk it?
Yeah, that's what happens when you're guaranteed a sword on Uncle. The rest are still hidden out there, but they are guaranteed a weapon to start off. And the Ice Pal's big key, which is actually one of the few big keys you don't necessarily need to complete the game.
Not for most of our runners, especially this high up in your rankings, but for logic reasons it is still required, but it is nice to have that, if you're fortunate enough to have the hook shot when you go in, that is.
Yeah, the only thing this does do is it means that Ice Pals can be fully cleaned out when they go there if they have one or two small keys to help make the trip a little easier.
Absolutely. So it looks like we're synced up on our screens now, pretty much just a couple frames apart heading into the back of Escape. Well, rather than down into the dungeon.
Interestingly, okay, now Kyong has one. Chex found the bomb drop a bit earlier. If Kyong didn't get one, he'd miss a few items.
Yeah, but no concerns there. We're not going to leave anything unturned here in Escape, as they find in the vanilla map chest a piece of heart.
Now, I know you mentioned those seeds earlier. Both these runners are very good at Link to the Past Randomizer. They're names I've seen around a lot.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be a treat. These are two very, very good runners, and you're going to see some really top-tier running tonight. To answer a question in chat, Kyong is using the Marissa sprite, which is from the Toho series.
Yeah, Marissa is one of the predominant reappearing characters in the game. There's that small key we were looking for.
Absolutely. They got the small key, so just so they can proceed through the dungeon, because, well, it has to be here. It's standard mode.
Yeah, if this was open, they wouldn't be starting in here, and that key would be somewhere else. Though typically you wouldn't need that key, because you have access to the front and the back, usually through other means. Alright, what's in the cell today? Or tonight, really. Come to think of it,
looks like bombs will no longer be a problem.
Yes, certainly. Also, come to think of it, if it's Halloween, which for some of us here in the United States it still is, does that mean Chex decided to go as a ghost?
Or at least as close as you're going to probably be able to find, short of a boo sprite.
Yep. So yeah, both runners are going to be making their way through the remainder of the Hyrule Castle, and things are probably going to divert heavily from there, because Key Sanity gives you a lot of options, and typically Key Sanity also requires multiple dips into dungeons in order to clear them out. It's not that likely that you go into a dungeon in Key Sanity and are able to clean it fully on one trip.
And absolutely. And while we got a second or two here waiting for our runners to make their way into the back of Escape, to answer another question you saw in chat that says, commenting, you're seeing a lot of all dungeons run early. All dungeon seeds, rather, and choices of matches. That is going to be, as has been mentioned in chat as well, all dungeons is going to up the execution with reducing the amount that you can get burned by the RNG and missing one location. It's really turning it more into more of an execution style run rather than just, who gets the best location first.
Now, the RNG can still play a little bit of a factor, but in all dungeon seeds, because you have to go into every dungeon, it's not as critical when something gets missed. And usually it means a runner will almost certainly be making their way there at some point. That's not to say that the usual rando stuff can happen in which someone puts off a location for very long, it happens to be very important, and that causes them to lose a little bit of ground. All dungeons just kind of mitigates that a little bit. Oh, hi, Boots.
Absolutely, and sure enough, in the Dark Cross, we find Boot. We will have a fast seed indeed.
Well, Key Sanity and Fast don't always mix, but maybe they will tonight.
Here is hoping. Now, more importantly enough, that's going to go ahead and, conserve you a little bit of bombs early on, which is always good, as well as we're going to be able to check bonk rocks coming straight out of escape here.
Yeah, you can just bonk this right here instead of using the bomb. Map to Swamp Palace. So for those who don't actually know what Key Sanity is, and this may be the first time they're tuning into one, as you can see, the compasses, maps, and the keys to all the dungeons are randomized with all the other items in pools. The maps tell you what the dungeon you get for being the boss is. You don't actually know whether something is a pendant or a crystal from looking at the map. It's not there. And the music is also random. It won't tell you correctly either. The compass will tell you how many chests are left in the dungeon. If you're not using a tracker, that's very helpful, but I imagine a lot of our runners do. And it's usually just for consistency.
Absolutely. Key Sanity also adds a couple of other things, along with all your basic items you want, your unique items. There is one specific small key out there. As we find a Moon Pearl in the Bonk Rocks, that is very nice to find early on.
Quite.
But for those of you who've watched Key Sanity, you know what's going to happen here. One thing that we do need to watch out for is a very infamous small key in Key Sanity, the Swamp Palace small key, the only way to get access to that dungeon.
Yeah, that is the most important small key in Key Sanity, and there's a number of big keys you need to get to. At least, like, 8 or so of those big keys are required. There's only a couple you can skip. Ooh, Aga gonna be early today.
Yeah, there is a Cane of Samaria sitting on the Lumberjacks. That means that we will have an early Aga, no double dipping after Aga 2.
Well, the problem is we still have to find 2 castle tower keys, and that's the main thing that's going to keep our runners from being able to get that Cane of Samaria. And those could be pretty much anywhere. The only location they can't be is in Turtle Rock.
Absolutely. Can't be in Turtle Rock, can't be on Vitreous, but other than that, anything's fair game.
It could still be a very, very long while before we actually get that. Now, as for what we have picked up, some health early is always nice. Not much money, though, and the poultry is not giving them much more from the looks of it.
Not just money, and I hate to say it this early, going through all of Escape, we haven't found a single, other than the Ice Palace Big, a single small key at all.
Yeah, that is a little concerning, too. It usually means that you're going to have to go to Eastern, which doesn't require small keys, and you're going to probably have to double dip it. But there's a lot of stuff here, so...
Absolutely. Who knows? Maybe they'll find a bow.
Well, there's one of the castle tower keys. Now, we do also still need traditional access to Aga, too, so a Master Sword or a Cape is still going to be required as well. And the lamp to put in logic. Oh, hello, flute.
Yes, we have a flute. That's going to be really early movement all around the world. That is great.
Well, I was definitely going to have to bite my tongue a bit on this one. Boots and flute early usually means you have a very good seat in front of you. Not going to be having much issue getting around.
Yeah, overworld movement's definitely not going to be a problem here.
Hello there, pod, small key, 1 of 6. But you technically don't need all of them. If you route accurately and can do the hammer jump technique, you only need 4 or 5 keys. Oh wow, that was an important buy.
Absolutely. The bottle vendor is telling you the most important small key that you can find. And everybody rise real quick for your synced swag ducks.
Well, the fact that we found the swamp key this early means that that dungeon is going to be a very early check when the runners can actually clear it out.
we're still missing a lot of bits and pieces that we're going to need for there, specifically flippers and hammer and mirror. But it is nice to have that off your mind. It's a lot of extra checks, a lot of extra chests. That's a lot of possible small keys.
Well, there's also the fact we need the hook shot for our swamp as well. Desert Palace is one small key. That's another very nice one to find.
Absolutely, it takes that little bug out of the back of your head of, do I steal the key or do I risk stealing the key? Now that's always a really interesting thing to watch runners contend with. And we have the lamp. Now we got a lamp. We've got a cane sitting on the lumberjack. I got a feeling that second castle tower key is going to show up soon.
A little bit more money this early is kind of necessary, especially with how much they've been kind of deprived of it up until this point.
Absolutely. Both of our runners opting for the 50. I can't blame them at all in this scenario. Not only that, both runners blind checking the race game. That's kind of interesting, but with so many... In Key Sanity, it's not as uncommon because there's much a higher chance of there being something you need.
Yeah, plus, I've just kind of seen this more recently as of late, more people checking this race game. Just something I think people have picked up. Alright, Kyong is going to go to the South Shore now. And Chex will likely follow suit. The item inside the dam is just a little bit more money, but we might have a little bit more to get outside of the dam. And I was actually wrong. Chex went to desert area. The ledge is 20 rupees. We'll see what Agina has very early here. When I get the flute early, I tend to like doing what Chex does. Get the desert check out of the way so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to have that off your mind and not have that, you know, notoriously orphaned location of Agina.
Yeah, and we also got a bottle from the dam water area. So Kyong has a sick kid check that he can perform at some point soon. Check's going up to Death Mountain.
I mean, with the lamp, it's in logic. Can't blame him. And there's a Master Sword.
Well, we are short a single castle tower key. That is not it. There's Power Glove. So Aga may actually be required for Dark World access, which makes everything actually a lot more simple, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Kyong can save himself one screen transition, flute back over to 8 here to check Ice Rod Cave. Check's delivering the old man.
Yeah, Chex is also coming up here because there is a hint in Spectacle Rock Cave that he would like to get early. Single arrow. I think that was 20 more rupees on top of Spectacle. Because of the hint, runners just come down here. They don't even check what the item is anymore, because there's this hint that they will 9 times out of 10 take a look at. It's a map. That could be helpful. Ice Palace map could be big. Burna's in Spiral Cave.
That might play a part depending on logic and if Spike Cave comes into play here.
Yeah.
So, Check's gonna come up here to Death Mountain, check everything that Kyong just did. Or am I wrong on that? No, Check's already checked Death Mountain. Sorry, I'm already getting lost. We're only 13 minutes in. This is Key Sanity for you, folks.
Yep. Chex is going to do the south checks. Kyong is going to do the things that Chex just did on Death Mountain and in the desert. But we know from checking everything that we don't actually have access to anything new, so we need to go to Eastern. It's the only area we have access to, or we can go to Sick Kid, which Kyong is actually going to do right away.
You might as well get out of the way. It's kind of semi-orphaned at the moment.
Small key, Castle Tower? No, Gaddon's Tower. Not quite.
Right tower, wrong key. As Chex picks up his his submerged potion. I gotta ask, are those bottles watertight? I'm not so sure.
That is a good question. That red potion in there is probably a little distilled. Probably not as effective as it could be.
Alright, so Kyong putting 2 and 2 together and kind of back into the closet here and see what else we got.
Green pendant is an ice. Well, so much for that map. In Key Sanity, you'll very often see people talk to Sahasrahla to figure out the location of the green pendant, and they'll talk to the bomb merchant in order to know where the 5 and 6 crystals are. At that point, you just need to figure out where the other 2 pendants are, and you know what to do. But it's all dungeons, so really, in this instance, knowing those dungeons is only for item efficiency, more than anything. We also found the cape in the back of Sahasrahla's house, which means we now can get into Castle Tower 2 ways over.
Yeah, cape's kind of an interesting find right after the Burna hint there.
Well, what it does probably mean is that the runners may just skip Spiral Cave. Because when it comes to invincibility items, the cape is preferred even if it drains more magic, because you can actually do spins with it. Whereas Burna does the damage, but it's also laggy, so it doesn't let you charge a spin attack.
Absolutely. We got a big 20 in the first check of Eastern Palace here. Kyong gotta head over to the right side, see what we have. Unfortunately, no hookshot, taking the long or vanilla approach. Check's only about a minute behind him here, checking shots at the closet. And another big 20.
Now, Eastern is another dungeon that has a hint within it, so we will get a little bit more insight to the seed, potentially, when Kyong gets to it. When it comes to hints, most hints are vague, some of them are more specific, but there are also a few community-type hints that are pretty much dud hints that can just waste your time a little bit.
Kyong taking out the Stalfos room with sword beams, one of my favorite things to do.
Let's see. The Book of Medora requires the hammer.
Ooh, that's an interesting hint.
Another thing about hints is that they have to currently apply to all logics. This includes swordless, it includes inverted. So that means that sometimes that's a little more specific than you would first think. So there's a couple of specifically hammer-locked locations that make that kind of interesting.
Checks with the graveyard variant of the Houlihan room. I'm not that good. I just go do the fairy fountain one. It's super easy and you can't mess it up.
Meyer Small Key. That is actually one dungeon where small keys are pretty much useless. You can get through that dungeon without getting any spare small keys. Skullwoods is another one. I believe at least one small key, though, usually makes routing a little less of a headache.
So far, all of our runners have been striking out pretty well all over the place. I think that at this point, it's screaming that we're going to have to go to Zora, it looks like.
Well, it actually could be screaming one other thing. What we need could be in Castle Tower. We could have to double dip the tower.
That is true. There could be progression in tower, or it could just be a vanilla small key to absolutely troll everyone.
Yeah, I'm almost expecting it at this point. Now, Chex does actually have enough. In fact, he's doing a little bit of a boots glitch here, which is it's allowed. It's a minor glitch to walk on the water, store the water walk.
That's an interesting variant of it that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, you have to do like a boots or sword release on a specific point on the ladder, and it only works with boots. So we're going to see what is basically the equivalent of a fake flipper here, except it was stored water walking, and now he's going to fake flipper. So we will get our insight into Waterfall Cave and Zora as well.
Yeah, now Waterfall Cave is going to be completely out of logic still, but it will be nice, especially if we find something to help narrow down our logic.
They'll also get to see what item is on the legend Zora's domain, which they will have to go back for. And just as a note, the only reason they can check Waterfall Cave is because you need the Moon Pearl to reset your state when going out of this cave in that glitch state. Now you can actually open the chest, which includes a big key to Meyer, which is one we need, and a piece of heart. Kyong also doing Houlihan now, trying to get that money for Zora. Yeah, I'm seeing it in chat here. Zora's in logic specifically because of gloves. He is actually something that can have progression.
And here's the moment of truth. Is it a life lesson or is it value?
Well, it's a key. Is it the Castle Tower key? No, it's a Turtle Rock key. So they did need that because Turtle Rock requires at least 3 small keys, 4 if you want everything. And you don't want to be looking for that. So they need to go into Castle Tower now. I'm fairly certain that's all that's left.
Pretty much.
Check's making the play right now.
Chat, we got a couple seconds before Chex get in there. Call it. Is it the other key or is it progression?
Yeah, basically at this point, it could be a hammer, it could be mitts, it could be a hookshot even. Key, could also be the big key to Eastern. Or, well, not Eastern actually. It could be... Yeah, no key actually gives us progression. It has to be an item.
Castle Tower key vanilla.
Well, just the Castle Tower key. None of the other keys will. Chex is also completely broke, so if he does end up getting Dark World access, he's going to want to get money for the chest game and the digging game. Map to Hyrule Castle. That's the very useless map.
Yeah, that's the most useless of maps. So now we're going to head into the Dark Maze and get the last chest here in Castle Tower.
The Gans Tower map is also fairly useless. Mitts. Alright. So this is a double dip Agate Tower, but Dark World is now in play.
Yep, we're going to have a save quit and a flute to 3.
Yeah, it's not going to be on the mountain. Chex is just doing that because the Old Man Cave is the quickest exit, and you can heal very quickly at the Old Man too, in comparison to Sanctuary, for instance. Meyer is actually Chex's first stop, which is interesting because Chex knows he can't actually clear this dungeon yet.
Well, he's going to need a
medallion. Actually, he can't even get in. That looked like Ether to me. I'm going to give it a double check on the restream.
Just a 5 and a heart container. That's a strikeout.
That was indeed Ether. Which is actually vanilla, so that's interesting. Alright, so now Chex is gonna go to 3.
Alright, so now here it comes. Do you go south the village of Outcast Thieves Town, or do you go north to Skullwoods?
If I was doing this, I would consider going north, just because Skullwoods is so easy to get items from. And at Thieves Town, you can only get the front half anyways. You absolutely need the big key to access the back half. So Kyong going to be coming up on his remaining progression item now. Hera Small Key. That's not one you really want to see, because that is a very annoying location to check. The only blessing is that a hint can tell you what's there. Oh, there's the Thieves' Big Key. Definitely a good thing Chex came here first.
Absolutely. It was definitely the right play to come up here first.
And he now knows whether it's a crystal or a pendant. Which, those maps could be important if we have something on PED, technically.
Kyong breaking with the norm a little bit here. Gonna check King's Tomb first.
Ah, yeah, that also opened up. Flippers!
That and it pays off in spades!
That just put everything he did in logic, and means that he can rest easy for Swamp and Ice. Now, Chex will probably get to that location before long, riding around Hyrule, but it will be a little longer, and if we happen to find Bombos or the Fire Rod and the Hammer, because we do need the Hammer for that dungeon, it might be one to consider dipping. Alright, so Kyong, having done that quick fire check, is also going to now go to 3. Will he make the same play, though? Check's actually going to check Bumper Cave quick.
Yeah, they got full access. No reason not to.
More rupees.
Yep, not the right kind of red you want to see there. So now he's going to head back down. I can't imagine that he's not going to check Thieves and Village of Outcast now.
Yeah, at this point you can actually reach blind and kill him, her, depends on what you think of the thief. So, there's little reason to not go there. The only issue is he will be leaving one chest behind that he will have to check later, potentially, for some more progression.
Yeah, and another issue is 6 hearts in green mail. Well, 7 hearts in green mail.
Yeah, that stings a little bit too, so, there could be a bit of a health issue going through the dungeon. Most enemies in that dungeon on green mail will deal 2 hearts of damage to you.
Somebody in chat bringing up a good point. If the progression's now on Catfish, that is painful.
Oh, that's very painful. Although with flippers, Kyong doesn't have to make as long of a trip over the Catfish. Alright, checks into Thieves, Kyong leaving Skull. Because I think he checked both areas. Compass to Turtle Rock. Usually at this point, if you see a compass, it's not going to be something the runners really think is all that important. The main way it can help is if someone's mismarked something and they think they've got an item when they haven't.
Yeah, compasses are great if you're starting out in Key Sanity. For these runners, though, it's going to be not even quite a luxury, almost more of an annoyance.
Alright, so there's still a lot we can check, but thieves can have items, like this bug net.
Yeah, checks picking up a bug net, Kyong cleaning up. Also, half magic in Thieves. That's a good find. If we had anything to use it with besides the cape.
Well, the cape can help against blind, so I don't think that's a terrible find. Now, Thieves has a hint panel that's a little more out of the way than most. It's upstairs on the way to opening the ceiling area to make sure blind actually, turns into blind. Some runners opt to check it, some don't.
Yeah, I've seen this panel be a point of contention. Some runners will check it, some runners will not. It's 2 screen transitions. I think it's always worth, but, I mean, if seconds come to seconds, it all comes down to, did I not check it and waste time? Those 15 seconds, you never know.
Yep, and Chex is opting to skip it, so we'll see if Kyong decides to check it. Now, I don't think Chex went over to the chess game actually before he went in, did he?
No, he did not. Chexhuman was suffering from a condition we know as broke.
Ah, yes, I just realized how low his money was. Kyong got a little bit more on hand, so he was able to at least check at that point. But, oh, now he's checking it. Some cash requires a specialist to unlock. Well, rip purple chest.
Yep, it looks like Gary was just gonna eat out for lunch.
I'm gonna try and make some quick speed here and catch up to Chex a little bit. Low on health, though. Oh, yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, unfortunately, green mail. Those red lizard guys still do 4 hearts.
Yeah, I believe they're called Zizak, but they hurt a lot. As do those green lizard-like enemies. They're basically the rats of the Dark World, and they do 2 hearts as well. Fire Rod. Do you return to Skullwoods?
For the at the level of these two runners, yes. At my level, no.
Yeah, if you're new, Mothula can be a little bit of a struggle. You do have half magic, though, so that is a good point of going in there and just barbecuing this bug. But that boss can be a thing if you're not ready for it, and on these little resources, that can be a big problem.
Alright, let's see if Chex can stick to script.
Now, the Fire Rod does also open Ice Palace, but we still can't clear ice without the hammer. In fact, we actually can't access 3 locations without it.
Yeah, and Chex with a very clean blind fight, staying on script and gets it out of the way. Just a heart container and his first crystal.
Yep, first of the run. We'll actually have to see whether or not this was an important crystal, if Chex decides to check the pause menu. We may also just see it in a happenstance pause. Chex going to the shooting game to get more money. This is something I've seen a couple times now in these seeds where you don't get money early. You come to the shooting game because you can get a lot if you can hit all 5 targets. Which is enough to get Chex what he needs.
Absolutely. Chex with 5 out of 5, and he is set for everything besides Kiki at this point.
Yeah, Kiki I think is the only other real expense these guys have to deal with. Chex is checking Digging first. He's also probably going to grab the Smith before he does anything else. But the Smith won't let you play this game if you're with him. Another Meyer small key. Not worth the time.
Yeah, but at least it's out of the way. Got that taken care of. And like you said, if you have a follower, you can't play that game. So it's worth getting it out of the way, especially if he's planning to grab the Smith here before he heads on.
Yeah, he's going to embark on the Frog World Tour, then he's going to return him when he's done. Though he's going north. I think he was going to do the chest game that he didn't do, and, oh, he can go in. I wasn't sure if he could or could not with the Smith. I guess it's just the chest that's particular about that.
Yeah, it's just the chest that's particular about that. Chex exposing that poor blacksmith to his evil and nasty gambling habits, and is now going to continue onward. Probably going to head down here, check Stumpy, maybe Hype Cave, and before saving quit.
I mean, as far as the Frogsmith is concerned, he's just following his own path. There's nothing in front of him. Just this floating shield. But this is a common path a lot of runners will take. Even Ninaki said, you come down to Stumpy, another pod small key, and then you go down to Hype Cave, and then you save quit. Still did not catch whether or not the crystal was a 5 or 6 from Chex. I believe he took out the bow at one point. I didn't actually. Well, it was for the game, right?
Yeah, it was for the game. I don't think we've seen a check from either side on whether it was a 5-6 or not.
Yeah, they're both probably planning to just talk to the bomb vendor at some point, or just because it's one of these seeds, they may not even think about it.
And
hello, Mirror.
Yeah, first check is Mirror in Hypertripe Cave. We got followed up with 10 arrows, a compass, which is useless, $20, and 10 arrows. So Mirror is Mirror, but besides that, not a lot.
Well, the good thing about the mirror is it actually cuts out the save and quit portion of this. We can now mirror and flip back over to where the Smith has to go.
Yeah.
And in fact, it also lets Chex backtrack over to K45.
First thing he's going to do is check out his 5-6 crystal.
Hera and Swamp.
So we know that our Thieves Town crystal that both of our runners have is not one of the 5-6s.
Yep, and there's still 2 pendants out there that we don't know either. Both those can come into play for a pet item. Like, you do need to consider every single location, especially when you have Key Sanity and all dungeons mixed together like this. which means we may have to go into GT for some items and go back out. I am a little surprised Chex just didn't flute there.
Nah, he might as well backtrack and keep himself in the Dark World. It looks like from my perspective, he might be considering Skullwoods again.
Oh, that's also a possibility, yeah. With that Fire Rod, he would definitely consider making his way over there. Now, the mirror did also open up another interesting, very rarely considered thing. You can get the first item within Swamp Palace now. And with the small key, you can actually get 2 of them. But there's also a hint in there, so I have to wonder if one runner will be considering that. Wow, Kyong going on a big world tour. He's taking this frog everywhere. In fact, I'm surprised he didn't check the item on the island. Although I guess he checked it earlier. It probably was nothing.
Yeah, he's gonna check the pyramid. He may even check Catfish. If he checks Catfish with a Smith, somebody get your bingo cards ready. This is kind of a rarity.
I also completely missed what the Smith actually had from Chex. But we have a small key on the pyramid. Belongs to Pod. That's 3 of them now.
Yeah, we're getting close now. Now remember, Pod requires 6 keys in logic. If you have a bow, and you can hammer jump, it's only 4. But they don't have a bow, so currently the key number is 5.
Check's also doing the King's Tomb check now and getting his flippers.
That'll be a weight off his mind.
So both runners now more or less have the same information. Although, no, Kyong did do all of Thieves Town. He has to have the Fire Rod. It just hasn't been... Yeah, there it is, right there in his inventory. Alright. So 2 very rarely checked locations right here. Sword in the cave, that's very nice. 20 from Catfish, not as nice.
Yeah, that's rather unfortunate. Now we're gonna get our flute to take the blacksmith home. Answer question in chat, yes. If you do the minor glitch for the potion glitch in Pod, they can still get away with 4 keys, but they still need a hammer either way.
You also still need the bow, because there's a second set of the mimics, the Garayas. Yeah, they are Garayas. That block your way that you need to shoot. Okay, the Smiths were just bombs, so Chex is now going to go clear the back part of Skull.
Yeah, I don't blame him, especially having picked up the Temperate Sword here. It's a solid play.
Kyong gonna do Desert. That did open up, technically. He can get some of the items from it.
He can get pretty much all the items from it. He's got Fire, he's got Small Key. He just doesn't have the big key, so he can't get back to the big chest. Yeah, I guess he can get about half the items in here.
2/3, and he can also get what's in Checkerboard Cave. And Chex is going to get 2 items here, but he's also going to get either a crystal or a pendant from Moth, who he's going to go kill immediately. Torch, what do you have today? Bombs, but what's the hint? It's old news.
Thanks, game.
Now, another thing I didn't say earlier, one of the hints is guaranteed to be the boots. It just so happens that we found the boots very early, because they were in a very accessible location that neither runner was going to pass up.
Alright, Kyong heading down to check the right side of Desert as Chex drops into his Moth fight.
With Temperate Sword and a half magic Fire Rod, Moth is not a threat in the slightest. Yep, it's gone. Bye, Moth.
Yeah, very clean kill of Mothula there. Let's see what we get. We got a big key. We get a big key for Eastern.
We can't actually really use that except for the big chest currently, but it may have something we actually need. Kyong, unfortunately, didn't find anything within Desert that was of help at all. He did get another bottle, though, with a fairy in it, so that'll be interesting for later. So Skull is another normal crystal.
Did
Checkerboard
Chex
has blue
not
mail.
check the other chest?
He didn't. I think he just realized it.
Yeah, I think he just remembered he didn't check the other chest. Kyong finding some mail in a checkerboard. That's a good find.
Those 10 hearts are now very fortified. Much more comfortable walking around with this than you would just green mail. Kyong also going to go back and finish off Skull now. But it looks like that big key is the only thing to speak of. So with the current items, I think you do have to go to Ice, don't you?
Yeah, you go to Hera. You got
Oh yeah, Hera is an option.
2 checks and a hint in Hera?
Well,
I would.
3, technically, if you want to go to the basement.
Yeah, true, 3.
But we still don't have much past that because we don't have the hammer. The hammer locks a lot. And Check's obviously not wanting to do Ice or Hera. Who's going to go check Desert first.
I can't blame
that
him. It
swamp
just opened
play.
up.
That swamp play is also on the table technically too. Let's hope the seed doesn't want to be that kind of seed today. Then again, when you get these items as fast, the seed time sometimes likes doing that to you. It's like, it's basically saying, here, we'll let you have this easy, but everything else is going to be a complete hassle to do.
Yeah, at this point, there is almost no way that you go to Swamp at this point, especially with having a lot of pod open.
Yeah. Yeah, pod being mostly open is another reason to head over there. 3 keys can get you most of the way through the dungeon. In fact, 3 keys puts the back half of the dungeon in logic in the first place. So you can get more than half of the items in the dungeon in that trip. If you can hammer jump, you'll get even more.
Kyong, yeah, you only having Master Sword, but Kyong gets a really, but Moth played nicely there. Kept in the middle of the room, not a lot of spike bounces.
Yeah, that was a very clean Moth fight. You can tell Kyong's been doing this for a while. Check's gonna get that blue mail that he's missing out on.
Yeah, thankfully they already have Mirror, because Death Warping with a Fairy in a Bottle and Blue Mail and a lot of hearts just became nearly impossible.
Yeah, definitely. Chex has come back over here. Is he thinking of something that I've not thought of?
I'm trying to run down the list here, but nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah, nothing's coming to mind for me either. He didn't do Catfish, that's probably what he's thinking of. He's definitely going to Catfish, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to do Catfish, and maybe with any luck, he'll head south after that in the pod.
Kyong, I don't think checked Bumper Cave, so that's his next. No, actually, it's not that. He's doing the Graveyard Cliff. He's going to get that Tempered Sword.
Yeah, it's a little bit late, but hey, better late than never.
Well, that Tempered Sword just basically gives them the sword they need for the rest of the seed, practically.
Yeah, there's no most... when you're dealing with swords, Master an improvement over Fighter, but barely. But Tempered's just the big one. It's the huge improvement that you need. And he won't be anything but happy to see this.
Yeah, so both runners have done pretty much everything the other has done. I think there's a couple locations Kyong has checked that Chex hasn't, but for the most part, they've done everything the same.
Yeah, these are definitely 2 top-tier runners, just, mimicking almost each other's brain patterns at this point. They've almost been check for check throughout all this.
Yeah, I think the move that both Chex and Kyong are considering now, and the reason why Kyong came back over here, they're both going to pod.
Check's just a hair behind, hasn't done the pyramid ledge yet.
Well, it's another pod key, so it's a good thing he is doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Kyong actually didn't do digging game. He didn't have the money at the time.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, what will he ever do without this swamp or this mystery mire key?
He definitely could have done without it. But dig game will haunt you if you don't do it, so... It looks like he may actually consider... Yeah, actually, no, he has to do this. He doesn't have the money for Kiki right now. He's gonna try and get some extra money from the dig game.
And it's only given magic.
Yeah, I think Kyong... Well, he's getting some, but you need 110 rupees.
There we go.
Oh, there he goes. To appease the monkey. And according to Chex hasn't actually dug Eastern either, so he's probably going to make that check in a minute. And he will be able to check that big chest, and we'll see if that's a problem for Kyong.
Yeah. To answer a question in chat about this matchup, they are both in Group J. Kyong's coming in as the Pool 1 seed, and I believe Chex is coming in as the Pool 3 seed. Just some completely legal Hylian shrooms in the first chest.
Yep. Alright, now the two keys you can skip, I mentioned one was Hammer Jump, the other is the front door to pods. Because the runners have to open it, they will need 5 pod keys at minimum to clear the dungeon. And Kyong is actually doing Swamp. He's actually going to make this low percent play. Ice Palace small key. I think that's both of the Ice Palace. No, we only got one so far. I thought we had gotten a small key already for the Ice Palace. I don't remember anymore. Some cash is in Ice Palace. That is a very, very not helpful hint.
Did Chex not just check that hentile?
I'm fairly certain he did not. Well, no, he did. Okay, something sharp is above the pose. We knew that already.
Yeah, we already got that sword.
Alright, so this is the only other item Kyong can get. Without the hammer, he can't actually progress through this dungeon. Sometimes, however, it likes to put the hammer here. No, but he found another... Nope, that's not going to help at all, actually. Well... And it looks like Chex is going to do the potion glitch to get the items on the left side, so he doesn't have to come get them later. That is a hook shot. And a key to this dungeon. Now, that hook shot is not in logic. We need the bow to put it into logic. So until Chex finds the bow, he knows to not necessarily follow the logic of hook shot to find items he's missing that he would need to get to this.
Yeah, but logic or not, it's still nice to have.
Quite. That's another step out of the Swamp Palace puzzle, and it is your answer to getting to the right side of Death Mountain, which is a lot of items. Chex will be going there probably immediately upon his checks here concluding. Map to Eastern.
So Kyong just behind Chex here coming in. Let's see if he does the potion glitch and grabs his hook shot as well.
Small key to Turtle Rock in the basement. So that's 2 to Turtle Rock now.
Yep, that's going to give us access up to... I believe into Chain Chomps?
Yeah, I think that's access. If you don't use the key on the door near the Pokey, I believe this gets you access to at least Laser Bridge. But it doesn't put Laser Bridge in logic necessarily. Chex setting up that hammer jump.
Can't check the big chest, but he can check 2 more.
Seems he may have forgotten that he didn't have the big key yet, too. Ooh, they definitely wanted you to come here.
Is this even French vanilla?
Okay, that hammer is in logic, unlike the hook shot. So that opens up pretty much the remainder of the seed for the runners, barring entrances to certain dungeons. So there's going to probably be a huge divergence between these two upon this dungeon's conclusion. Kyong, what are you doing? You have a fairy. I hope you remember you have a fairy.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Chex's plan was here.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I think I said Kyong by accident.
Is there some kind of fairy revival I'm not quite aware of?
Yeah, what is he trying to do here? I can't actually tell. He's doing save scum for the key. Oh, I see.
Okay, that makes
He is
sense.
going to save here. He's going to check this item. If it is good, he will mirror away. If it's bad, he will reset and keep his key for Helm later. This is a way he can avoid having to get the other two small keys to finish the dungeon.
Yeah, that's kind of that in retrospect, that's amazingly smart here.
Now, had Kyong remembered he'd had a fairy, he would probably let it loose before he did that. 10 arrows. Nope, he's gonna reset his either his emulator or his system now. And he's gonna keep that key.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting to see if Kyong does the same thing.
I'm not so sure, but it could come down to finding that extra key if it's not. But I got a feeling that due to the key logic, it might actually be up in here. There might be one of the other keys.
That is true. It could be up there. Now, I don't believe Kyong decided to do... Well, he didn't decide to do it yet. He's going to do it now with a potion. So he is going to get the hook shot too. Chex does not care if this is out of sequence, although the hammer actually put it in sequence, so it's actually not out of sequence. He's going to check all this at Mountain, and the only thing that's going to be out of sequence is Hookshot Cave. This is true. Chex could have gone to Eastern, but he decided to go up the mountain instead.
I mean, there's like a dozen checks up here compared to one in Eastern.
Well, there's the Thieves Town small key. That's not welcome at this point. Now see what Kyong does. Kyong leaves. He decides to leave those chests for later. I'm actually not sure. I don't think he even used his key on the Helmway. That's why he had two. But I don't think Helmway had anything important, so it's actually going to be beneficial.
Third Turtle Rock small key inside of Paradox.
Well, Turtle Rock still isn't even a consideration until we can get the Cane of Samaria from the Castle Tower. So, as far as we're concerned, as nice as getting all these Turtle Rock small keys are, they're not actually helping immediately. And it looks like Kyong, now with the possession of both the hookshot and the hammer, can go to Ice. Ice's hookshot logic is a little interesting. So, whether or not things are in sequence are going to be a little fuzzy for Kyong here. There's also an interesting hint. The shovel requires the Cane of Samaria. There's not a lot that hint bars.
There's Ether.
So Chex now has access to Mire, but still can't clear it. Chex is all gonna go check Turtle Rock for us in a moment here, most likely. Maybe after he's done in the cave. Now, this entire cave is out of logic, so...
Well, the first chest is in logic.
Oh yeah, with boots I think you can block over to both sides. But these items aren't. And so far it doesn't really look like it was much anyways. Yeah, so that wasn't really much. Okay, I'm about to get another hint here. That is one of the dud hints. There's one more in Ice. Ice is actually very packed with hints because it was one of the few dungeons that actually had quite a few telepathy tiles within it. Chex did check Turtle Rock. I'm going to quickly catch that on the restream. That is Quake. We actually have vanilla medallions. And he wants to go back for the item on the island. That's the ice rod. That would be why.
Nice.
One of the worst items to search for in the entirety of Randomizer. Off the table. Very relieving to see. Does cane locked hint apply to Cold Stare? Technically speaking, the cane is not required to clear Ice Palace. There is a weird way that you're supposed to do this normally, where you're supposed to push a block onto a button, but you push the block from above floor and have to switch the floor tiles around the button tiles. So you don't actually need the cane to get the Cold Stare at all, but logic will sometimes indicate that it wants you to have it. There's the other Castle Tower key.
So, yeah, the second Castle Tower key locked down inside of Ice Palace. And it was hammerlocked, so...
Yeah, now... That, was definitely in logic because Kyong had keys coming into here. So Castle Tower is something that can be done now, which can get in the Cave of Samaria, which is huge. A map is in Mimic Cave. Well, we can skip that location. And that is the last Turtle Rock key right there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's that's the fourth of the Turtle Rock keys.
Yeah, Kyong's third, but it's the fourth we know of. Gonna check this hint before he moves any further. Armor is held by the Village Elder.
That'd be what, Shaz? So green pendant leads to the second mail upgrade?
I think that is Sahasrara, yeah. So, Sahasrara for red mail. Well, if you could find a good time to route that in, that's probably at least worth a quick stop, but neither of our runners necessarily needs the red mail. Oop, another big key. For Hera, Hera is now clearable.
Ooh, that's a good thing for Kyong and a really bad thing for Chex here.
Especially since Chex is doing the very much time-consuming check of the basement of Hera right now.
And it's
but there's a bow in it! So, Eastern and Pod were actually clearable for some time now from the looks of it. Because we got that small key a long time ago.
Yeah, and they've had the mirror for a while, so it could have been...
Key.
Desert.
That's another dungeon that can be taken off the table. In fact, Kyong can now do both Mire and Desert after a trip to the tower. They'll be fully cleared off the table. Chex checking Spike Cave quickly. Kind of a little close with his health, but has plenty of magic to spare on the cave. Kyong going into Cold Stare. With half magic, it's a little less concerning.
And the book hint was leading to Spike Cave.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I said the book was blocked by the hammer, so it was in Spike Cave. Interesting. Yeah, Kyong doesn't have to worry as much about conserving his magic against Cold Stare, who he just shredded, by the way. Because with half magic, he doesn't have to worry about depleting his whole magic bar opening Cold Stare up. That is a key to Ice Palace he gets as his reward, and the green pendant, so if he wants that green mail, he can go get it soon. Or, not green mail, red mail. Yeah. And we're finally getting this mushroom check, too. Not quite as worth it. Yeah, in this instance, it seems he was actually cane locked because he kept a key away. It's very unlikely that happens, especially in Key Sanity, but it happened.
Looks like Check's gonna be right behind him heading into Ice Palace, getting all of that. Which will be nice, because it'll put him basically right back up with Kyong now. Now the question is, does Kyong go straight to Hera from here?
Yeah, because he hasn't done anything on Death Mountain.
Yeah, he's going straight to probably east side up to Hera, getting all of this out of the way.
Yeah, he's gonna get all this juicy, juicy stuff that Chex has. Oh, and since we have that bow, that actually puts the hookshot back in logic, too.
Indeed it does. Well, we got a second with everybody backtracking the others' progress here. Go ahead and make sure to drop a follow if you haven't already. These two amazing runners are putting on an absolute clinic here in our end.
Yeah. Now, I imagine, in part for convenience sake, Kyong is not doing Aga yet. Because A, I think he's probably trying to get a few more locations checked. He has tons. And B, once he kills Aga, anytime he save quits in Dark World is going to put him back on the pyramid. Which, there's at least a couple locations where that could be important. Kyong also, since he comes in here with the big key, is going to get access to another hint that Chex doesn't know quite yet.
Yeah.
Whether or not it will actually hold merit is something else.
More importantly, he's going to have access to all those upstairs checks as well.
And a dead worm. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Swamp is clearable too. So the 5-6 crystals are actually redeemable.
You know, wait 1 second here. We've got access to... Besides the Quake Medallion, are we in go mode? Or at least no mode for us.
Not
well, other than
quite.
keys, of course. I mean,
because
item.
there's a bunch of keys, but item-wise, I believe that is the only one we need, is Quake. Otherwise, we still need Pod's big key, and T-Rock's big key, and the GT big key. That's
still not a lot for an hour 1 in.
That is true. For a Kisanity Seed, they have a lot of what they already need. I'm just gonna double check quick. I don't think they're missing... No, there's definitely not any small keys they need at this point. It's just big keys. Although they could use 1 or 2 for GT, if we do need to search that at all. Majik Terra, yes, we do actually know where the Cane of Samaria is. It is actually in Lumberjack Cave. And both runners will have both Castle Tower keys in a minute here. They just need to make the trip up the tower. It's all dungeons, so Aga had to happen eventually anyways. But this kind of prodded it a little earlier.
Oh
boy!
Well, I guess we're gonna need those keys after all.
We need those keys.
You know, we say that now, they're gonna walk into GT, it's gonna be on the torch.
Yeah, it's possible. But I guess that means we get to play the GT guessing game. That's not sometimes something Kisanity can do. A lot of the time, GT's big key ends up outside of GT. Also, Moldorm here should die very fast. He's dead already. Bombos.
That's the wrong coin.
Oh, I also entirely did not see the hint that Kyong looked... Actually, I blanked on it all. Oh, no, it was the big key.
Oh, that was his GT hint.
Wow, how did I forget that fast? That is impressive. Alright, now Kyong to check the remainder of Death Mountain. Except for Spiral Cave, because he and Chex both know that that is the Cane of Burna that neither of them really wants to see right now. What will be interesting, though, is to see if Kyong decides to go to Spike Cave on his way out.
I can't help but think he will, after he finishes all these, opens the portal, checks the Dark World side over here.
Because book locations could be interesting for multiple reasons, and it could give us pet information, too. Alright, Kyong gonna get the works here. Gonna start at the bottom, then go back up to the top. And if he leaves his portal up here, he probably will do Spike Cave on his way out. Which would be very efficient routing. And that also means that he'd probably be pretty safe to do Aga after this, too. We are still missing a lot of keys, though. Not to mention, we don't know what dungeons are pendants, and which ones aren't. So once we know what the pendant dungeons are, if they happen to be any of the dungeons we're missing big keys for, those could be in GT. They could also be at the very top of GT. It's a little frightening to think about that.
Yeah, nobody wants to see a big key inside of the Moldorm 2 chest.
No, you definitely don't.
All right, I'm kind of surprised. I'd be kind of surprised if after all of these cleanup checks, if somebody doesn't actually make the ice or the Swamp Palace play with the sheer amount of items in there.
Yeah, Swamp is now basically an open treasure trove. They were definitely hoping to get a hint for left side Swamp, though. Check's coming back up the mountain, presumably to check the Ether tablet.
I don't know. If you're going to come back up the mountain, I think I may have considered going Aga 1.
Oh, he also has to... He also has to fix Hera. That's the other reason he's back up here.
Still, I would have liked to at least maybe get a little extra value out of that run.
Yeah, this is a fairly small trip overall. So let's see if this does pay out for him, as Kyong does a little item catch up here from the Death Mountain checks. That was not worth it.
Nope, just a big 20. He's going to head in, finish off Moldorm 1, get his GT big key hint.
Kyong is going to skip Spike Cave. He will not have the book. At least, not currently. He may decide to do it from this side because it's faster. Yeah, that appears to actually be it, exactly.
Yeah, in a race like this, you don't take the risk of orphaning locations. You take the time, clear it all, make sure there's nothing left behind.
Well, especially in Kisani, because Kisani is basically the mode of comb everything with a fine-tooth comb. If you forget anything, you could very well be up a creek without a paddle and have absolutely no idea where the item is you left behind. Check's now getting the same unfortunate news that Kyong found. Well, it's also fortunate because he means as soon as he has everything but that, he can blitz. Problem is that, again, some of our missing items could still be in Ganon's tower.
Well, if they are, at least you now have another reason to check.
Kyong not gonna do the tablet yet, because he doesn't really have any reason to come back up here until Turtle Rock comes into play. And Swamp does appear to be his next play. Kyong did dip the dungeon slightly earlier anyways, so he probably intends to just finish it off now. Not to mention, as I mentioned earlier, 5-6 Crystal, very much a good idea to do this. And, now that I'm thinking about it, routing this big crystal, this big bomb in, gives you good access to Aga Tower. So Kyong's plan is to probably do this, then the tower. That's very good routing that I didn't think about when it came to mirror positioning. I believe I just saw a blue crystal on Desert Palace.
I did see a blue crystal on Turtle Rock, meaning that there's the only real hopes for the pet, aside for big keys, is it can still have Quake.
Okay, blue pendant, sorry, is Desert. There is a pendant on Desert. Now, you say you saw a crystal or a pendant on Turtle Rock?
No, it's a crystal. It's definitely a crystal.
Okay. So, unless Pod's a pendant, there's not much that Ped can really conceal. Come to think of it, in order for Ped to have Quake, Turtle Rock would have to be a crystal, but keys, it's a different story. Check's gonna check Bombos, as the means.
Yeah, Kyong will probably check it afterwards.
Silvers.
Okay, that's worth.
I'm also not sure if Kyong is going to check it, because like I mentioned, his plan is probably Big Bomb when he's done here. He might wait till later.
Very possible.
Yeah, Chex is now like solidly equipped to deal with pretty much everything the game has remaining. Kyong gonna head to the south end now, and based on the fact that he did grab the key, I'm not sure what he'll do after this. He might skip left, he might not.
Yes, skip left, go left. It's always a huge point of contention here. Only a big 20 in the compass chest.
He says do left.
Oh, that was a fake out. Ran up like he was going to the back and then decided to hook shot over. Kyong just playing with our emotions now.
Yeah, he probably hook shot over to the chest for speed convenience, but did make it look like he was going to go back instead of left. Given you're not really wanting to make 2 trips into this dungeon, you want to take care of this now. The only issue is we don't have the big key to swamp, so that could still be an outstanding item. Speaking of outstanding items, Thieves' Town Big Chest is still at large.
Yeah, the only saving grace there is they also have hammer pegs they need to check.
This is true, and that is a check they would like to do. They will need powder for bat now because they did turn in their mushroom, but that is a small price to pay. Alright, so let's see what is over here. Bombs. And probably a useless small key to a dungeon we've already finished. No, that's Butter Store. That is far from useless.
Or cholesterol. Cholesterol is always good.
So, aside from red mail, which we actually know the location of, we're more or less stacked.
I mean, I guess you could want a mirror shield if you're a pleb like me, but yeah, our runners are pretty well stacked.
Yeah, I think a lot of runners opt to actually not use a shield due to the fact that it creates extra lag being on screen. Some people actually like to get their shields eaten while they're in Skullwoods if they find them that early. Alright, so it looks like Chex is also going to check left on this initial trip. Kyong's got 4 more items to check on the way over. Actually, aren't included in that, but it's 4 items anyways. We got Quake. That is our items. That is all of our items.
Alright.
Just remain.
Yeah, so at an hour 13, we have all of the items that we need here. We are short just a couple of big keys from already being in go mode.
We also just found the 3rd and final Meyer small key. We really do not need those. Meyer can be cleared with just the keys it has. Now, with Butter Sword, you can actually kill Argus real fast, because the Argai died of pokes. And he's gonna quick kill him here.
Wow, that was a thing.
That is destruction.
So yeah, if you ever wondered what the quick kill on Argus looks like, there you go.
Chex going to make his way back, probably going to do similar. Kyong is going to go check Bombos, he will get those silvers. And I imagine he will immediately head to turn in the big bomb.
Yeah, there's not really any point not to. You can go straight from there over Clear Pod, Clear Eastern, get all that out of the way. Or rather, not clear pod, there's no big key, but you can at least clear Eastern.
Well, I was thinking do Castle Tower, then do Desert and Mire, because you can actually clear them both.
True. My only other concern is, or not even concern, but point is, they can get the red mail if they really want it, but with these two runners, probably not even on their minds.
Nah, we're probably not going to see the red mail. Not unless our runners would like a power trip. Oh. What is Kyong doing?
He's going back to get money.
Oh, because the super bomb costs 100.
Right.
We forgot an expense. Again, Chex won't have to do that. Money things like that are something lesser runners will definitely forget.
That's one of the reasons I'm on this side of the commentary desk.
I would say it's at least a partial reason for me. I would probably have forgotten the money a couple instances in this seed, and I've been burned on that before. Just needs to not lose his big bomb, which is pretty hard to do, let's be real. Check's gonna do the silver arrow kill on Argus. Alright, so... I really expect to see Aga Tower after this bomb is turned in. And then the trip over to Eastern and Desert, because they've cleared out, remember, most of the items in Eastern and Pod. Chex just hasn't done Eastern. So, there's only 2 items we don't know in Eastern, and I think it's just the big chest in Pod that we don't know other than Helm. So, the chance of what we need being in those locations is very slim. Pyramid Fairy, you've been holding out on us. We needed that money so long ago.
Kyong headed up, sure enough, it's to Aga 1 time.
This is literally the most ideal time you can do this now, so you may as well do it, get your red cane, get to clearing the other dungeons that require it, and move on, because Turtle Rock is an option too. We're actually probably going to see that before we see Desert, before we see Eastern or Pod as well. As a reminder, the items we are still missing to complete the seed are the big keys to Pod, Turtle Rock, and Ganon's Tower. But we know Ganon's Tower's big key is actually within the dungeon proper. We just don't know where.
Alright, and here we are on hour 18 into the seed, and our runners have the same dungeons cleared, pretty much all the same items, and they're in the same dungeon.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting seed. You usually expect Hisei to go a lot slower and a lot longer. Hasn't been the case this time around. We've had a lot of good items. Something sharp in Mini Moldorm Cave. That is a very old news hint. And I feel like at this point, the only hint I can really think of that would really help the runners when it comes to bad locations is the left side of Mire.
Yeah, that's the last hint they really would need to check anything off.
Most of the other bad locations have been dusted, with the exception of a couple fetch quests. Ooh, slick, hyperspeed there from, Kyong.
Alright, chat, how many blue balls are we gonna see?
Yeah, that's an interesting call. I think the average is usually about 3, but I've been seeing a lot more lately.
1!
As I say it. So how about 6? I'm guessing 6. Well, it could still be 6, but it's very unlikely at this point. Like, this set would have to be all blues, and most of the next set would be 2.
Really
now
good
it can't
Aga.
be 6. This has been a very good Aga. 1. One blue ball.
One singular blue ball. That's a really favorable Aga. That goes with the favorable seed we've been having so far.
Alright, Kyong going to 3 ASAP. I'm actually curious if he decides to route hammer pegs in now too. This is probably the last time he's going to be in this area. Oh, he's actually doing a pet check too.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, definitely. I don't blame him for this. It will tell him whether or not he has to come back. It's a very small time sink he's doing. And because he came back this way, I imagine he probably will do the Dark World too, just to get the pegs out of the way. What do we got today? Pocket change, not required.
And the pet's dead.
There are no keys, which was the main thing we needed to check. No, actually, he's just going straight to Lumberjack. Alright, hammer pegs will sit dormant for a little while longer. Chex is actually going straight over the Lumberjack, not even going to bother checking Ped.
Yeah, little did...
Who will get into the cave first?
It's gonna be close.
Pretty much synced because Kyong also paused to get his flute out. Alright, I expect to see both runners do Desert and Mire now. The question is, which one will they do first? Desert at this point just has the 2 remaining small items left to clear out. So Mire is higher density, and they may consider doing it first for that. Plus, when they clear Desert, they can just flute and not have to worry about mirroring. So yeah, they probably will do Mire first. No, Kyong's doing Desert first. Nope, never mind.
Nope,
he
we got
looked like
baited.
he was going to keep going. It looked like he was going to keep going. We also have double bird toss opportunity here.
Yeah, I doubt they're gonna do it though, but the sync we're seeing here at, you know, over an hour 20 in is just amazing.
I was going to say, Chex, it was close enough that he would consider it, but no. Both of us are just going to go right in. Yeah, at this point, they have no fear. They're armed to the teeth. Very quick first room from both of them.
Yeah, that was a really solid room. Check's actually making up a second or so there.
Now, interestingly, Mire can be routed a little differently in Key Sandy, especially when you have all these keys. Due to how this dungeon can be, you know, worked around and routed with things like the hook shot, it's actually beneficial to check the left side first when going for all the items in the dungeon. Well, that key might be important, so it's a good thing we found it.
Yeah, GT small keys are no longer useless now that we know that the big key's in there somewhere.
Yeah, so anything they can find is very much important. There is a hint in this upcoming room. We'll probably see it.
Yeah, it's a second or so out of the way, but I can't imagine they're going to pass it up.
Yeah. I imagine if the runner feels like they just know at this point what they're doing, they may skip it. In fact, again, I actually just remembered, unless the hint is item-specific, hints are kind of useless at this point.
And we got trolled.
Check's gonna check it too. Well, the secret is said to be in the arrow. It wasn't kidding. More arrows. A little coincidence there. So Kyong now gonna go check the chest in the middle. And then he's gonna check the right side. With the hook shot, you can actually take a fall in the room where one of the chests is and still head towards the boss. That's the Skullwoods big key, so that's another stray location that's opened up.
Yeah, it's up there all by its lonesome. It's not one of those places you want to have to go back to, but now they've got the bug in the back of their head in case.
I mean, they technically killed that bug already, but still an important thing to keep in their minds. Meyer not paying out too much right now, but that's because we're looking for so little.
Yeah, so what they're going to do here is check this, check the spike chest, the next one, head straight for the back of the dungeon, hook shot across, then just fall off.
Yeah, and then they'll head straight for, Vitreous. I don't know why that took me so long to remember. A quick reminder, though, we did get a hint earlier saying the shovel was Samaria blocked. This could be the location. These two are also very close right now, within mere seconds of one another. Vestitude, they don't necessarily need a shovel, but we have a hint that the shovel is Samaria blocked. So they'll find it in one of the couple locations, potentially, that are coming up. Alright, looks like Kyong is probably going to try and set up a glitch. Yep.
I've not actually seen that before.
I have. I don't know entirely how it works. It's layer-based, and it, for some reason, remembers, like, a bit of the previous room, which allows you to hit that switch and not waste time. It's bizarre, and I'm not entirely sure exactly how it works.
Alright.
Vitreous with silver arrows is not an issue.
Yeah, so blink and you miss it, Vitreous dead on both screens.
I mean, can Vitreous even blink with all those eyes? It doesn't look like it can. So now we hit Desert, and both runners are going to want to enter from the side again, just because it's quicker when it comes to checking the big chest.
Yeah, they'll both mirror over, head in, check the big, mirror out, check through the back. We're going to have continued sync here, at least for a little while longer.
And yes, the chat is correct. Pod is confirmed to be the last pendant. So we knew the pendants were off the table, but we now know where they all are. Which means Pod's big key can be in the upper portion of GT or in GT proper.
That'd just be evil.
Which also means we do definitely have access to GT after Turtle Rock Big Key.
You know, at this point, Turtle Rock Big Key, full vanilla, right there in the middle of the island.
You know, that actually is something I'm considering now. We don't have that key. There's not many places left it could be at. And we need that key to get to the back half of the dungeon in the first place, so... Is it possible that the key is in the dungeon? And as another point, is it possible that we need to get the shovel from within Turtle Rock and then use it to get the big key to Turtle Rock or even Pod? Because I would think Turtle Rock is technically Samaria blocked because you need the cane. Although, no, in other logics you don't need the cane, necessarily. That's a hard one to call. This is going to be another blink if you missed it. Well, Kyong, unfortunately... Oh, no, he did get it right before it died. That was still first cycle on those worms. Chex opting to do Fire Rod and a sword instead. Alright, Kyong, you're in the driver's seat here. Where do you go next? You go to Eastern.
Yep, there's the flute to 5.
Given he's done most of his checks in the dungeon already, I'm not too surprised. He will have to come back to Pod at some point. We still don't know where its big key is. But he may as well take this out now. Chex thinks the same thing. Yeah. And I don't think Chex has checked anything in Eastern yet. So this is going to show a little bit better what the actual distance between our runners is.
Yeah, I don't think... I know one of the two, and I believe it's Chex hasn't been in here yet, so he's got a bunch of extra checks to do.
Yeah, Kyong just has the big chest and the Armos to clear out. Chex has to check everything. It is a hunt for our remaining 3 big keys. And they are being elusive. We still have one-off locations these things could be, like Hammer Pegs, Thieves Town big chest, Skullwood's big chest. If we find the Swamp House big key, its big chest. The shovel, the bat. There's so many bad locations these keys can be still.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention in the Pod's case, it can still be in GT itself.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing because of the fact that it is all dungeons. Pod's big key can literally be anywhere, including within GT. Even near the very top. Alright, so I see in chat they're clearing it up. Only the first 3 items in Turtle Rock, because of Inverted, are actually Samaria locked. So the shovel could be in one of those locations and still be considered locked.
It could be on Trinex.
Well, he's not Samaria blocked because of Inverted logic. The hints have to apply to all versions currently.
Okay, but you still have to get across the bridge to Trinex.
Fair, actually. I forgot about that detail. So it could be on Trinex as well. So still nothing. And it looks like Kyong is going to pick up the red mail on his way out. Unless he happens to have forgotten what this hint is. We did get this hint a while ago. It may not be fresh. But it's red mail. May as well grab it if you want it.
Maybe just likes Marissa better as a redhead.
I want to say in earlier depictions of Marissa, she may have had red hair, but it was also a completely different design. I might be wrong on that. Not the most well-versed in the series. But it looks like Kyong is going to dip Turtle Rock, which I don't really think there's much other locations other than one-offs, so he may as well. He's also going to check the Ether Tablet that he neglected to earlier.
Yeah, he's going to hit the 1-up on the way up here to Turtle Rock. Not a bad choice.
Well, neglected's probably the wrong word. He just decides to save it for later. There wasn't really much reason for him to do it at the time.
True.
So, do we think we're going to have to leave for that Turtle Rock key? That's the big question.
If they have to, that's just gonna be all the time that they've been saving so far, kind of just gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. I'm kind of just waiting at this point for that shovel to be in one of the item locations Kyong checks, and for it to have something that he has to leave in order to actually finish a dungeon, to get what he actually needs, maybe. Okay, so she did have red hair at one point. Thank you for that confirmation. Time for Vanilla Medallion number 2.
We also gonna get one more hint here as we open Turtle Rock just inside the door. We'll see if it's any use, although it's doubtful.
Is highly doubtful, unless it tells us where one of our remaining big keys are in one of those very annoying to check chests, which Swamp Big Chest actually is a hint you can get. We will not really need it. Nope. Super nope. Alright, it looks like Chex is not taking the same risk as Kyong. It looks like he's gonna go start cleaning up some. Oh, maybe not. Nope, changed his mind. Changed his mind.
Which in the long run is probably the better plan is to get all these checks in here done. Unfortunately, we know that he's just a little bit behind Kyong, so he's not going to make up any time going this way.
No, and this also means if it's not in Turtle Rock and is in one of these out-of-the-way locations, both runners are going to be on very equal footing going into the end of the seed. Now, if they can find both the big keys they're missing, that will make their lives a lot easier. But, again, Pod's big key can really be a bad spot now. Alright, so still no shovel. That could also be in GT. There are some Mario block locations there. And Kyong has 2 chests left he can check.
We know Mimics a strikeout. We have Chain Chomp and Central Island.
Yeah, it's just Chain Chomps in Central Island because we can't open the big chest and we can't get anywhere past it to Laser Bridge. So there is only one more item that Kyong can check. Either this big key is vanilla, or we are taking a trip somewhere else. Yeah, and just as a confirmation too, we know Mimic Cave does not have anything we need. I believe it's a compass or a map. So this is literally the last location that is available in the dungeon, and after this it's a mirror and leaving if there is nothing more you can do.
Moment of truth. Nope.
Nope.
Pardon me.
This is probably where I'd be playing Mario Party minigame music that sounds silly to go and figure out where the hell this key is.
Yeah, so we have Thieves Town Big Chest, Skullwood's Big Chest,
Hammer pegs.
Hammer Pegs.
But more item locations could open up as we go. Like Swamp.
Not really. A Swamp Big Chest, Magic Bat, that's about
Those
it.
are the only 2, but we can also find... Well, we can't necessarily find the shovel, actually, just given how its hint is. Okay, I'm going to check the Skullwood chest first. No, Coding Witcher. Neither runner did fake powder.
Which they may be kicking themselves for here soon.
And we keep bringing up the shovel because it is mentioned to be Samaria blocked. Oh yeah, and there's still some pod keys out there that are going to be red herrings too. Oh, no, because they just got the Cane of Samaria. They did not fake powder.
Yeah, they couldn't.
Because they turned in their mushroom a long time ago, and they only got the cane like 10 minutes ago. So no, we need actual powder to check that, which we might find.
Yeah. Alright, so check 2 of 3. Get Hammer Pegs.
Now, the thing, too, is we could get Pod's big key and still have to come back and search for Turtle Rocks in this mess as well. Because there's only 2 more item locations in Pod we don't know. There's another bottle with a fairy in it. Kyong says no and goes to the Thieves Town Big Chest. There has to be something in here. Whether or not it leads into a bit of a goose chase is another thing. Mike John, yes, both runners turned in their shrooms. There is no more fake powder on the table.
Alright, so keeping with everything, this has to be either a big key to Pod, a big key to Turtle Rock, or the powder.
Or the big key to Swamp.
Or the big key to Swamp if you're extra trolly.
Yeah, this is why these out-of-the-way locations will eventually come back to bite, because it's instances like these where you have to come back for an item that you wish you could have gotten on the first trip. Then it's just telling you much, much later that you need to actually think about this location again. There could be something here. And in the case of the Thieves' Town Big Chest, there is something here, which I find for some reason in Key Sanity more often than not has an item in it.
Yeah, it's one of those notorious locations that, you know, you have to skip it, it's always there, as, you know, there's almost always something in the Thieves' Town Big Chest. Why? Moment of truth.
Big Key 2.
Turtle Rock.
So we can now go clear out that dungeon, but we still need the pod Big Key, and that has so many other locations it can still be.
Yeah, that's probably the one big key they would have rather not seen, because now they have all of GT open for that pod big key.
Now, they could get lucky. They could find it during their trip into Turtle Rock. But, given it's all Dungeons logic, I would not be surprised to see it in GT, especially higher up in GT.
You know, the seed was too nice of them for him in the early game. It's gotten bad lately. Let's just say GT has the Skullwoods big key leading to the pod big key.
I'm actually now thinking of something that could be even worse. We only have 2 of the Ganon's Tower small keys. I'm fairly certain there are 4. Are we gonna have to leave for small keys on these random missing items? It's entirely possible that the Swamp Big Key, the Powder, the Shovel, any of them could lead to a Ganon's Tower small key that's required to get even more items that we miss. That would be so trolly, and it would be so funny to see.
Yeah, that'd be rough. Let's hope that they're not out looking for Ganon's Tower small keys, because that would just be kind of crazy at this point.
The funny thing is, that's like a reverse for Key Sanity. Usually they're doing a leave for the big key, not the small keys.
Yeah, it would be pretty hard to do. Something would have to be buried really deep on the left side.
Yeah, or you spend all your keys and then don't have enough to climb the tower, kind of deal too. I think there's at least 1 spare key, so they might be saved from a lot of this. But there is a chance they'll have to leave for 1. And yeah, chat informing us that's actually all they need. I couldn't remember how many key doors you could skip, technically. So it looks like that will not play a factor. They could still have to leave for the pod big key, though.
Kyong headed outside. Oh, well, yeah, of course, big chest.
Yeah, big chest has not been checked yet, so he's just not going to mirror. He's going to make the trip right over.
Yeah, plus safety door.
Yeah, that's another good reason to do it, especially on this current health total. It would not be bad. Maps at this point, completely useless.
Maps in all dungeons a little useless to begin with, but it's even more so this late in the seed.
DH Storm that we do not. We just know where it is. It's in GT. We found a hint for that earlier. Which reminds me, we may need to start that guessing game a little early because it's going to be a very short trip over the GT from Turtle Rock.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as Trinex is dead, we may want to start that.
Alright, so Kyong coming in, got a laser bridge left to check. Check's just re-entering GT. He's got about a good minute 15 behind.
TR, not GT.
Yeah, TR. One of those 2 things up on Death Mountain in the Dark World.
Yeah. Well, plus they're right next to each other, so it's literally, like, close enough tomato tomato. Well, there's another Ganon's Tower small key, so now I don't think we have any worries at all. Ooh, Kyong, you might want to go get that. No? Think you're gonna risk it? Alright. I understand that these runners are very practiced in their laser clips, but at this point, I would have definitely have gone to get the safety door. I would definitely get it now, Kyong.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Nope, he's gonna keep going. Still completely useless things. He's even gonna head over to Trinex on this health.
Kyong going no guts, no glory on a heart and a half.
I'm fairly certain he can live one hit from things Trinex can throw at him, but not two.
He's not
He
even.
also opted.
Not.
Oh, he has a blue potion, so he might be thinking about that, but he didn't even grab that. I think he's gonna try the Zero Cycle Trinex here. Oh, almost. For the record, to Zero Cycle Trinex is to kill him before he can shoot his head out like that. One missed swipe cost that, but Trinex's last form is quite quick to kill if you know the setups.
Alright, so Trinex is going down, and rarely in Kyong92 do we get to do this. Inside of Ganon's tower, there is a big key in chest 1 to 23. Please enter your guesses in chat if you've ever subscribed to Speed Gaming Family Networks or donated at least 250 cumulative bits to any of the Speed Gaming family.
Yeah, you can guess if you haven't done these things either, but you won't be ranked on the leaderboards if you have not.
23. Yeah. It could be in the big chest, you never know.
Well, the GT big key can't, but we could find Pod's big key in there. So we are probably gonna have to comb that even if we do find the GT big key. We have to literally scavenge the tower for this other missing key. It's interesting that right now GT big key is not the gatekeeper; it's Pod.
All right, and shutting her down. All right, checking out Laser Bridge. Here we are with Kyong inside of GT. What do we got?
As a note, we'll be going off of Kyong's number when he finds the big key. Even if Chex finds it first, it's Kyong's number that does the actual leaderboard placement. That is a mirror shield grab and an accidental map input, and he's going to go right side first, which is a good idea given you are probably going to check the entire dungeon. Not doing tile room, though, probably still safe. But the fact that we are still looking for something else extraneous, I don't know if you want to leave that location behind. You already have so many other annoying locations to check. And if you leave GT without that being done, that's a long trip back for something that takes a long time to do.
Yeah,
so
but...
if we don't find the Pod big key before then, I would consider doing it anyways. There's our shovel.
Yep, inside we have another heart container, shovel, the 6th Pod big key, and some bombs. Gotta grab the safety key over here and then head over to the left side.
Yeah, Logic wants you to have 6 Pod keys normally to clear Pod because it's the 6 that it gives you. So that actually means that the Logic intended for you to not finish Pod until coming here.
7 is the heart container. Chex finishes up his Trinex fight. He'll be headed over here in just a moment.
It occurs to me that I've never actually put in a guess, and at this point it's definitely too late to place one, so I will just continue watching as need be.
14. It's always 14. 8, blue rupee. 9, heart container. 10 arrows. 11's 300 rupees.
That's a very fitting 10th item, just given the numbers. Despite what we have left, this has still gone very quickly.
13.
Oh, there's Swamp's big key.
Yep, big
That's
key, wrong
12.
one.
That's item 12 in this dungeon, and that is another location the Pod big key could be.
Yeah, okay, so that was 12 coming up on the rest.
That shovel too, by the way, I did mention that earlier just to reiterate. So yeah, that was the one big key they could find that leads them astray. The other 2 are the ones they want.
13, 50 rupees. 14 through 18 in Rando.
Yeah, 14 through 17 are in the room that you only see in Randomizer, because in Vanilla, there's just restock items in these chests. In Randomizer, they can actually be something, and in this instance, it could be our big key. The GT one, at least. Money. Heart. Arrows. Money. Still looking for the GT big key. Bob's room is going to be chest 18. 19 through 21 are ice armos. 22 will be tile room. And if Kyong does find the big key before checking tile room, he will almost certainly check the GT big chest before he moves on. I am seeing some remarks in chat about it not being here. The GT big key is in this dungeon as we just found it. The runners found a hint for it a little while ago. So the winning number is actually going to be 18.
17.
No, that's 18 because
18,
the
right.
Kyong's counter is not counting the chest that he did,
Because,
the
yeah,
torch that he did not
torch.
grab. So 18. Alright, so Kyong checks the items behind the ice armors because we're still looking for our remaining big key. It's not there. The big chest is the next check. It's not there. Is he gonna check tile room, or is he gonna leave that location astray? No, he's going for it. He knows very well you're not coming back up to spend 2 to 3 minutes on just this item. You're doing it now and taking the 1 minute loss instead.
Absolutely. And our correct answer at 18 was Mighty Metric Batman. Congratulations on what looks to be your second win.
Luguru, yes, those are the correct flags you have just listed, just to give you confirmation on that. Alright. If tile room doesn't have this, we do still have to check the upper floor chest too. And it's not.
Alright, so we have 4 chests to check on the way up the ascent after the gauntlet. And after that, we might be headed back out into the big wide world.
At this point, the raw distance we have between the runners is what locations have you left astray, how few of them are there, and how quick can you route them all in and find this missing key, should it not be at the top of this tower. The following after that is how quickly can you clear pod, which for both these runners is going to be fairly quick, but it's still a time that they wish they could have done before coming here.
Yeah, at the very least, they both have 90% of the dungeon covered.
Kyong on the gauntlet opts to not refill, does still have a potion if he needs it. I believe he still has his fairy. I think Chex was the one who did the death save strat earlier.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to say Kyong actually left another chest in pod, too. He's probably not going to check that until the very end, and thankfully for him it's not anything important. Kyong putting on a clinic here, clearing out all these rooms really fast.
Yeah, getting some favorable patterns, but definitely putting on a really, really smooth, how do you do this? Gets the snipe on the Stalfos.
Yeah, Kyong was practically textbook with that gauntlet. Unfortunately, Landmos went very astray, missed all of them. A couple times, actually. And now two of them are spawning at the same time, and I think that's because the one died. And that was definitely something that could have gone a lot cleaner. Chex could make up a little bit of time with that.
Yeah, Kyong definitely showing a little frustration there onto that fight, but still holding a decent lead, still going up the tower pretty quickly here.
Yeah, this is around the time I feel where runners start to feel a little bit of the race fatigue. But this is still pretty fast for Kysanity, all things considered.
I mean, especially considering how completionist it is. I mean, they're missing, what, 3 hearts? We know one of them's a heart container on the Torch and GT. So they're only missing like 8 locations out of hearts, a couple other ones. This is just everything's been checked.
Yeah. Alright, Kyong is approaching those chests that need to be checked up here. And I think he's got just enough magic here. It's very close.
Oh man, that sound went off just as he climbed those stairs. I kind of puckered there for a minute that he may have despawned it.
No, he intentionally waited. That was what he was doing. He was standing at the bottom of the stairs, ensuring to wait for the sound until the glitch could not happen. Chex enters Gauntlet now, see how he performs. Looks like we're down to Moldorm's chest, also. Nothing else has given us what we need. Check's having a little bit of trouble in the second and third rooms from the looks of it. Fourth room, though, very favorable pattern, very clean kill. And Moldorm bails them out.
Moldorm 2 got the key that he needed for Pod, so he'll be able to dip into that immediately after Aga 2.
Yeah, so both runners will be in go mode upon completion of Moldorm 2. The only thing standing in their way is Aga 2, Helmasaur, and then Ganon. The execution is the only thing that's going to make a difference at this point. Kyong has at least a minute lead on Chex. Ooh, that was a bad first pattern. I don't think Kyong was happy about how it went either. It was a little better. They'll need 3 hits here to take out Aga. That only counted as 1, so it's going to be a 1-2-2-1. I will get a more specific time for us in a moment. When Kyong's screen fades to black, I'll nominate his time, and then I will name Chex's when the same happens for him. 1:57:37 when the screen actually faded for Kyong. And Kyong will now go off to Pod. Check's about to get his missing big key. Both runners have done a very good job of both executing and routing this seed, and they've made still decently quick work of it for Kysanity, especially all dungeons.
Yeah, this has been an extremely quick run from both of them, and they've been pretty much neck and neck for just about the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, ever since Aga, they've basically done the same things in the same order. Alright, so it looks like Chex got a little bit of time back on Aga 2, but he's still actually a little further behind than I thought. It's actually more than a minute. It's closer to 2 minutes. Look, I mean, I guess it's going to be about 110 seconds, a minute 50. Fade is at 1:59:28. Yep.
So
Chex almost 2 minutes behind Kyong. Kyong would have to fault again at least once to make this close.
With Butter Sword probably twice. It's not over, but it's going to be an uphill battle for Chex.
Yeah. It's very unlikely Kyong messes up at this point, and Chex knows that too. These two have probably raced numerous times against one another. Well, this will be a very close race and a very fun one to watch, honestly.
Yeah, this has definitely been entertaining. They've had a lot of open places to route, and just watching them, two really good runners have basically the exact same thought patterns and routing patterns, has just been an absolute treat.
I guess thinking about it, I guess one of the main reasons Chex lost a little bit of time was probably Hera. He had to go back up and redo Hera, which led to an extra mountain climb.
Yeah, I would say pretty much everything has come down to that double dip of Hera.
Yeah, that is at least one thing that has cost him a good chunk of time. Kyong lost some of it too when he had to go and re-dip Eastern. But Chex, I think, also lost a little bit more time when we also consider the fact that he tried to do that death save and didn't get rid of his fairy. He spent a good 30 to 40 seconds setting that up, forgetting he had that fairy. I want to say that quote is from one of the CDI Zelda games.
Kyong quickly into phase 2, gets through all his slashes, just waiting for phase 3 to pop now.
Yeah, Butter Sword, you only need 6 slashes again per phase. So it's very quick, and this is a very good teleport pattern from Ganon so far. Not too many teleports.
Yeah, all in all, they've gotten some pretty favorable patterns from all the RNG bosses.
We say that, and Ganon now decides to pull a fast one right at the end. Quite the fast one.
Yeah, Hyrule edition of Dancing with the Stars.
Alright, so on to phase 4. Kyong didn't get Torch Glitch, but he has half magic, he has silvers. That's not a problem in the slightest. He may have missed a triple there from misaiming, but he's killed Ganon at this point. Ganon goes down for Kyong as Chex downs Helm. And we will get his time for you in just a minute.
No bridge shenanigans, and he's through.
Kyong has officially finished first with an SRL time of 2 hours, 3 minutes, 2 seconds. GG to Kyong. Chex just has Ganon left and should wrap up pretty quick too.
We've already seen this RNG once. We know this is going to be pretty favorable up until that last hit in phase 3.
Yeah, we'll also see whether or not we can get either runner in for an interview. It looks like Kyong actually is already on his way. Yeah, Chex now dealing with that same dance that Kyong had to deal with. Chex also did not handle Torch. Also missed hitting Ganon immediately, so this is going to cost him a teeny bit of extra time, but not a big deal. Ganon's in a pretty optimal position right now, but... Nope, no, he did kill him.
Yep, Chex got him pretty solid there.
Alright, we will get his time for you in a moment as well. Chex officially finishes in second place with an official electoral time of 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 3 seconds. So the runners were separated by 2 minutes in the end.
2 minutes, 1 second. GG to both of these runners. That was an impressive performance and one heck of a seed to watch.
Alright, so we got Kyong waiting in the waiting room. We can bring him in a moment now.
I assume we'll probably have Chex in here in a moment and be able to get both her thoughts on this just, absolute joy of a seed.
Yeah, this was a very, very fun race to watch and commentate. And it just went by very quickly, too. Admittedly, it would probably have been a little more hilarious and enjoyable for us in the audience if they did have to go hunt for her for that pod key, but I think it gave them enough trouble as is.
Yeah. I mean, it was a fun enough race. Just the fact that it was where it was already was worth it. Then even if they didn't have to go diving swampy at a second time.
Alright, both Chex and Kyong are on standby. We will see if we can get them in here in a moment. Alright, we got Kyong in here. Congrats on the win, Kyong.
Hey, thank you.
That was a very interesting seed to watch, and it went by pretty quickly, especially for all dungeons key sanity. We're also joined by Chexhuman now. GG's Chex.
Hi, GG.
GG's Chex.
Alright, so I don't know how it felt for you guys, but that seed felt fast, and in the end it felt close, especially for the last hour of the seed.
It's kind of inevitable the way hammer placement was and the Turtle Rock Big Key. When you kind of have to do everything, it ends up being kind of close.
Yeah, that is true. That hammer was not in a good location, technically.
I guess it felt fast because there were escape boots. That was a pretty nice thing.
Yeah, escape boots and village flute.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Had a lot of mobility from the get-go, for sure.
Yeah, the thing this seed did instead was held on like almost every big key.
Yeah, so it was definitely a joy of a race to watch. I don't know if you guys have talked it over, but from our perspective, it was a little linear at times. It did basically hold your hand and tell you, this is your next big accessible location. And you guys were synced with the one or two notable exceptions for just about the last 45 minutes. You guys were no more than usually a few rooms apart. And it really just came down to Chex having to double dip Tower of Hera.
Yeah, another small time loss that Chex may have had was he went to set up a save check on the lone chest that's in the central room in Pod. But he forgot he had a fairy, which cost him a little extra time trying to get himself killed.
Yeah, I've been doing that since Key Sanity was debuted. There's just no way for me to remember that I have a fairy.
It's a smart move, though. We definitely didn't think about doing that safe key check. Kept you from having to get the remaining pod keys. Unfortunately, you got them all anyways, because that pod big key was intent on making you search every nook and cranny. At least it didn't make you do anything extra than just get it right at the end of the tower.
Yeah. I was already thinking, well, where should I go after GT?
I can spoil that if you want. Because I just did it after I finished.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, sorry to this. Yeah, there was a 20-minute delay.
Oh, of course.
That is true. We're not. If it's on our stream, we're not going to see it for some time. But it'll be interesting to see that pop up if it does show up.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys? Like we said, it was pretty fast. You had a lot of overworld freedom with super early lamp, super early boots, super early flute. What did you really think about the rest of the logic as it played out through the seed? I mean, did anything really just like an item pop up and you went, okay, I didn't expect to see that there. What is that going to tell me?
For me, what really really impacted me on this seed was rupee count throughout the whole seed. It was so insane how tight the rupees were for me.
Yeah,
I ended up not being able to do digging game on my first go. I ended up having to farm some rupees to buy the fat fairy. Had to do some extra digs on digging game to open pod. It was really rough. I just wasn't able to route how I wanted to.
Yeah, that was actually something we didn't mention. That seed was very stingy. You both had to farm rupees a couple of times to get all your checks in.
Yeah, it was definitely tight. You guys both hold a hand the same way. Kyong, you kind of had us, even Kyong, you had us confused at a couple points because we're like, Kyong, where are you going? And then you dip in rather to get a couple of rupees because I'm short for the big bomb or I'm short for Kiki. It was just kind of amazing how tight everything was there at the beginning.
And then you realize Pyramid Fairy's been holding a bunch of the rupees.
Yeah, every time I spent those rupees, I would get to the place that had them.
Yeah, it's just kind of figured at that point. Now, I imagine both of you were probably happy with how you at least played out the sea, because you two were both executing bosses like machines.
Yeah. Felt pretty good. No real disasters, I guess.
Yeah, and that one hint too that told you red mail was on Sahasrahla, you both ended up picking that up too, just for a little extra protection.
Oh, that's a hint that I missed. That was interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I should have. Yeah, that would have been a little bit of a time save for me to just go up a little bit in that room and read the hint.
Yeah, I forget which room that was in, but it was a hint that at least one of you picked up. It must have been Kyong.
Yeah, the one that's easy to miss. The one in the tall ice spike room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be the one.
That's one that I'm not sure how to best route that in.
Yeah, it's in a really weird spot. I can't blame you, either of you for that.
Yeah. Sorry. If I would normally, I don't know what I would do. Never mind. Sometimes I go there. Sometimes I drop down there, but I wouldn't do that.
I ended up going there before Ice-T room. I did the bomb jump from the double freezer and just dashed to the right and up, and then went down to open the door.
That's what I did too.
Alright, so I do have one other small thing I do actually want to talk about briefly in this seed. You ended up checking Lumberjack early to find the Cane of Samaria there. When were you expecting to get that, and how did it factor into how you routed your dungeons?
It didn't really much for me, although it definitely pushed me to not do Ega Tower early, the first couple chests. Since we were only one key away very early, that ended up being less locationed.
Yeah, unfortunately, it ended up being Mitts.
Okay, yeah. Since I put off Eastern Palace, I was happy to find those Mitts there.
Yeah, you ended up finding those pretty handily for your sakes.
The single dip of Eastern was actually kind of dumb because I just forgot to go when I was in the pod area, but it worked out in my favor.
Yeah, you kind of had to go back and do Eastern anyway, so it didn't really cost you much. In a way, it technically would have saved you time.
Wait, why would going to Eastern save me time?
Well, you made one trip instead of two, basically, instead of what Kyong did. It's a minor time save, basically, because you went straight to Armos after checking instead of having to leave. I would think that's slightly faster, right?
It was faster. I'm saying I actually didn't mean to.
Oh, you're saying you didn't mean to...
I didn't mean to miss.
Put it off as long?
Yeah, I didn't mean to put it off that long.
Yeah, because I think you
That's what I'm
had
saying.
the bow when you checked pod at one point, right? Or something?
Yeah, the
I
second
don't remember
time.
anymore. It's been a long seed, but it was
Sure.
also a very quick one, so a lot of information has gone in and out.
Yeah, well, thank you for commentating. It was fun to kind of route and plan this. I'm not really used to Key Sanity without glitches or entrance shuffling.
Yeah, that was a
So-
very interesting race to commentate, and it was definitely a good one. Definitely happy I got this slot. And I don't think there's really too much else we need to cover, so you two have any other things you want to say before we sign off?
Just mirror the sentiment of thank you for the commentary and restream.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Kyong and I will be racing at the same time tomorrow.
And the day after.
Well, that will be something to look forward to, especially if you guys select what these guys did. Make sure you tune in at those times.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure to give both of these runners a follow as well, because
Yeah.
they put on one heck of a show for all y'all.
Yeah, and definitely give a shout out to our tracker, too. For this race, it was Link Force. I believe his name is... it is Link Force, never mind. In terms of Zelda Link to the Past Randomizer, there does not appear to be any more this evening, but there is a race at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and that is on Speed Game 1. It is between Jula Ninja and Alex Hacks. And if you want to keep up to date on all things rando, make sure you follow Speed Gaming 1 through 6 and A Link to the Past 1 through 4 to keep up to date on Randomizer and other things that happened. Past that, though, that's probably going to be the end of us here in the booth. Though Chex is going to probably have his checks on screen here if people want to see those. I've been Buckshot24, and with my co-commentator Demon RHK, we will see you guys another time.
Absolutely. Take care, and everybody have a safe evening and good night.